Hello, my name is Kent Armstrong. I've been rewinding and rebuilding pickups for over 50 years. And this is my first video. And thank you to my son Aaron, who makes pickups in England and repairs pickups over there, for badgering me all these years to finally give some of my secrets to you people out there. Today's topic was given to me by Jerry Nipper, a friend of mine in Ireland. And he has a customer who wants to be taking the humbucker cover off his pickup. Well, firstly, if you don't have the tools and you don't have the skills, don't do it. You've really got to know what you're doing with this. You could easily cut your finger off or whatever you're doing, or break the pickup. If you break the pickup, you'll be sending it to me probably to get it repaired. But I really don't need the work, so please don't be breaking them. So, the biggest problem for taking a cover off is breaking through the solder joints. And that's the hardest part of all. In most cases, in a humbucker, they've got the solder joints right along the weld here. The worst offenders are the old Hofner pickups because they used a full-length solder joint, and they're tough to get out. The best thing to do is have some incredible tools. Here's a little Dremel with like a carbide cutting wheel on it. They work just beautifully for just cutting the solder. And also, if you need to, get a 60-watt soldering iron. Nothing smaller. Anything smaller, the metal cover in itself and the base plate will just absorb the heat so quickly it'll never melt it. But if you can melt out as much of the solder as possible very carefully, be careful because it will try to run down the side of your cover, so be very careful. And I quite often use a Stanley knife, a heavy-bladed Stanley knife. And what I do is I put it on my table, and I very carefully just run it down. But run it down away from your fingers, because if you're going to slip off, you're going to cut your fingers. Again, if you're not handy with this, don't do it. So very carefully, just once you've ground it off with as much as you can, without trying to take away too much metal, get it as thin as possible, and grind it and cut it down and cut it down. Just keep working it down and down and down, till finally you're going to break the joint. And even if you take a little tiny screwdriver, you can then, sometimes you can just pop them open as you lever it in there and just pop it. Careful, you will dent the cover. So just very carefully move it inside there, move it outside there. Now, why do people want to take their covers off? It's really simple. They usually want to either change out a magnet or they want to put a 4-core cable in. They want to take out the old Gibson style cable and put a 4-core cable in. Simple enough to do, but that'll be another episode. So the most important thing is when you're going to change the magnet in it is to make sure the magnet you're going to replace goes in the exact same polarity as it came out. Without it going back in, you will make the pickup out of phase. If you have a 4-core cable, that's not quite so bad because you can change the phase over by changing over the plus and minus. But remember, like poles repel, different poles attract. So when you pull the magnet out, I quite often take a little felt tip pen, and as I'm taking it out, I put little marks along the side so I know which way it came out. Then take your fresh magnet and make sure it goes in basically the same direction, repelling. You can also take a master magnet, as I have here, and mine is a notched magnet, an old ceramic notched magnet. Oop, that attracts really very well, and that's pushing off. So if you want to, get yourself a magnet and double check yourself. Really important to double check yourself. So again, if you're not comfortable with this kind of work, especially using a sharp blade like this to cut open the solder, please don't do it. I really don't want you to cut your fingers off on this. But if you've got the tools and you feel comfortable, have a go at it. Changing the cable is not that difficult. And the magnet, all you have to do is just slacken off the 6 screws, slacken off the 4 base screws, and you can literally just, in most cases, you can just push the magnet out. In quite a few other cases, they're glued in, and that's a little bit more problem. You almost have to disassemble it. Anyway, I hope this really helps you out with your job. But again, safety is paramount. And if you don't wear glasses, you might even want to consider using some glasses. I hope you've enjoyed this.